Good morning and welcome to my vlog. When I do a vlog, at least in my own mind, it may not come off this way, but it's because I've been thinking and pondering about things, and it's more free-flowing, free thought stuff than it is a formal video presentation that I have worked up some kind of a demonstration or something, even though this will have a little bit of a demonstration. But I've been thinking more about the Crisco candles and doing more research because I'm also researching the terracotta pot as a heater, which I'm going to be doing a video on. And I just would like to say, please do not go out and get any materials for that terracotta pot, regardless of what you might see on other people's channels, until after you've heard what I say about it. So here is my flat of Crisco candles that we finished the other day. They are all closed up with their wicks in place. The wicks are beeswax. Beeswax is a hard wax, and a hard wax burns slower, and therefore will use the fuel at a little bit slower rate, which is a good thing. Now, I am not necessarily advocating for these Crisco candles. My main objective in doing that previous video was because there are so many misconceptions out there on creating Crisco candles that I wanted to put something out for anyone who is going to be doing Crisco candles to please do it in a very safe way. This is not to say that this is my go-to emergency candle for when we have any kind of an emergency. I think open flames are very dangerous, and so one of the things that I'm going to be doing in a future video is alternative ways that we can have both heat and light other than with candles. I know some of you just love candles and you're very used to them and probably practice it very, very safely. But you know, it is partly because I don't trust myself. I'm getting older, Jim is getting older, and we do get a little bit forgetful. So I'm just not ready to take the risk with candles as my first layer of defense. Now, if I've exhausted every other alternative, would I pull these out and use them? You bet. All right, so today, one of the things that I wanted to talk about was, as we think about candles, as we think about any oil, any cooking oil, and I was actually looking for this information before I did the other video and just barely found it. And I found it on a master class in cooking, and I hadn't even thought about going to a cooking website. But there they had a lot of information on a lot of different cooking oils. Here is a list that is put out by Anova. I know that you won't be able to read this on camera. I am going to put the link to this list so that you can have this. This is very, very useful information. Fats and oils, and other things too, have what is called a smoke point and a flash point. The smoke point we're probably all familiar with. If you've ever tried to fry eggs in butter, once that butter starts scorching, it starts to smoke, and that's the smoke point. Smoke point for butter is a little bit low. It is about, in fact, I have it right here, butter is at 350. It is important to know about smoke points because when oil or Crisco, fat, lard, anything starts to smoke, that is your clue that it is breaking down. And when it breaks down and goes into different components, not all of those components are good for our food if we're using it for frying, are not good for us to breathe if we are using candles or anything else. And so one of the things that it breaks into is free radicals. And if you know anything about free radicals, most of them are not healthy for us. It causes aging, which thing I certainly don't need. And it also contributes to getting sick. We are more susceptible to catching things if there's a lot of free radicals and we're taking those into our bodies. One of the reasons that I do ghee, which is butter with all of the milk solids removed, is that it increases its smoke point. Smoke point here is, did I say 350? 350. Smoke point for this is 100 degrees hotter. So you can cook at a higher temperature before this begins to smoke. This starts smoking at about 350. Also know that the smoke points, there are lots and lots of different charts now that I know where to look and what keywords to use on the internet, and they don't all agree with each other. So I'm taking kind of a generalized, this ANOVA list that I'm going to put the link to is pretty much solid with a lot of the other charts that I looked at. Okay, so smoke point is one thing. When we burn candles, and particularly when we are burning candles and concentrating that heat like you do with those flower pot heaters, we'll get more into that when I do the video, it can move from the smoke point to the flash point fairly fast. If your smoke point is, now smoke point of Crisco is, and it's on this list, vegetable shortening including Crisco, is 360 Fahrenheit. It is 180 Celsius, and this list shows both Fahrenheit and Celsius smoke points. It does not show flash points. What is a flash point? Well, flash points were more difficult to find, even on the cooking websites, but what I did find was that flash points start at about 400 to 600 degrees. Now, if we are starting out with something that is at about 450 for a smoke point, how long do you think it takes for it to get to its flash point? If it is in a hot pan or any kind of a situation where there's a lot of heat around it, it doesn't take very long. And flash point is where it can ignite. And then it bursts into flames at the flame point. There was much less information on flame point, but flash point is what we have to be very, very careful about. And so as we use our candles, it is pretty important for us to know, for instance, what we are using. There are lanterns that also use oils, plant-based products for their fuel instead of petroleum-based products, and I kind of like that idea. But in particular, we need to know what the flash points are of those oils. It's interesting, avocado oil, the smoking point is 520. That's way up there. And while the lowest is flaxseed oil at 225, and those are both Fahrenheit, which is a very low smoke point. These are smoke points. Flash points start between 400 and 600, and then a rapid fire will quickly follow. So we need to be very, very careful. Now, one other thing that I was very curious about, the reason I'm wearing this black shirt is so that you'll be able to see what I'm doing here. So this is just one of those little beeswax candles that I use for wicks. So I'm going to light this candle and just let it burn here for a second. Now these are the wicks that are here. I wanted to know about the smoke point for beeswax, which is just about the same as for Crisco, so we're okay there. But I wanted to know the smoke point, and what is that smoke anyway? Well, what I learned was that the smoke that you have after a candle goes out, not when it's burning. When it's burning is the smoke point for the oil. But when we blow out a candle, we see this smoke. What is this smoke anyway? And it dissipates, it goes everywhere. I just smelled it. It smells just like this beeswax. And that is because that smoke, when you extinguish a flame, is the vaporized wax. Just like when water boils, it creates steam, and if you hold your hand high enough above a boiling pot of water, you will get that steam touching your hand, and your hand is cooler than this steam, and it will condense, and your hand will get wet. But don't burn your hand trying that. Keep it way high above the steam so the steam is cooled. Same thing here. When the fire blows out, it cools down immediately right there, and it vaporizes this beeswax. Well, if it vaporizes the beeswax, if this is beeswax vapor coming up, then it is also flammable, and I want to demonstrate that. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to blow out the candle to create that smoke again, and then I'm going to try to catch it with this flame to show you that it is flammable and it will relight the candle without the flame getting anywhere near the wick. So let's see what we can do. So Jim is going to focus in close as he can with this flame. Keep your eye right on the wick. So I'm going to blow it out, and then I'm going to try to catch that vapor on fire so that it will relight the candle. Let's see what we do. Was that a good one?
That was a good one.
All right, so you could see that. Let's see if we can catch it again.
There you go. That's a good one.
All right, so there we have it, a little science experiment. All right, let's do another one. So there we have it. You can easily see how flammable that wax vapor is. So this really is not a threat or a danger. Generally, you're not standing by with a match to relight that vapor, but just so that you know that that vapor is also flammable, and it can make a trail right back to the candle and restart the candle. I don't know that that's ever happened to me in my lifetime until I just now tried to do it, but it's fun to see what can happen. So those are my thoughts, additional thoughts on the Crisco candles, and we will be back soon with another video on other alternatives for heating our houses when the grid goes down in the middle of the winter. So thanks for joining us, and we'll see you soon.